So here we go. As I said yesterday, I would be doing a Man of Steel spoiler review thingy. This is the first time I've ever done one of these, and as you can tell, I'm a little bit nervous due... Well, I've never done one of these things before, and the quality of my equipment, well, as you can see, is kind of crap. I'm using a shitty web camera and not so good headphones to do the recording, but let's hope this works. My thoughts on the movie Man of Steel. It was a good film. I know that some people weren't happy with it, other people felt that at times it dragged on, or at other times it just didn't explain the plot properly, but overall it kind of told the story that was needed to be told. I guess I want to talk about the film, so this is where we get to the spoiler part of me talking about the film. As always with any Superman origin story, the story begins with Krypton going boom. Actually, this takes place a little bit before Krypton. Apparently, the Kryptonians at one point spread across the stars, built their massive empire, or whatever the fuck. Then decided to introduce genetic purity laws, which meant no more having sex, instead no more giving birth naturally. All future Kryptonians would be cloned from gene stock, and depending on your stock, depended on your job. Which kind of seems like a stupid way of doing it, but yeah. Another side effect of them pretty much cutting off all the star colonies and all that is they had to rely heavily on their own planet for resources, and in the end eventually got to the point where it's like, well, we need more energy, resources, whatever, let's try and mine the core of the planet. Because, yeah, that's a brilliant idea. Your planet is kind of already, so you start trying to strip mine the center of it. The bit that, if you fuck with, the entire planet's going to go boom. Also be warned, I will swear, and this is not scripted, this is just a random stream of thought. Fuck, I might even upload it to YouTube. So Jor-El, head of the science ministry, played by Russell Crowe, which at first I didn't really think Russell Crowe was a good person for the role, but after hearing him play Jor-El, it's like, yeah, he did a good job. He pretty much approaches the Science Council, the Supreme Council of Krypton, and goes, look, our planet is screwed. I tried to warn you before, you didn't listen to me, now it's kind of got to the point where we're all going to die. And the Council's like, well, what do you want us to do? Evacuation? Jor-El, no, too late for us. They don't actually explain that bit until later in the film why he says it's too late, but I'm going to say it now. Jor-El believes that because of this whole cloning process and all that, that's part of what got Krypton to the problem it is now. Kind of, I guess, the sins of the father or something. But as Jor-El goes, we still have hope, and just as he's about to explain the birth of his new boy, the first natural-born Kryptonian in over 100 years or so, in comes Zod, blowing everything up, just going, look, these bastards had their chance, they fucked up. I, General Zod, am going to kill them all, take over, and try and fix the problem. Cue an epic scene as Jor-El not only manages to break free of his guards, he escapes on some weird four-winged lizard pet he's got, flies all the way to the cloning center or whatever the fuck it is, grabs the Codex, which is the genetic record of all the Kryptonians ever, for their whole cloning thing. I know I'm harping on about the cloning thing, but it does seem a little silly. It's just one of those things that kind of had me just going, eh. But yeah, he grabs his cloning thing, gets out, gets chased by Zod's men again, runs all the way home after losing Zod's men, and unfortunately his four-winged bird thingy died. Aww. And then proceeds to use the Codex to effectively download all its data into his newborn son's DNA. Well, his newborn son's body. Every cell of Kal-El's body contains a portion of the Codex. Pretty nifty. He gets ready to set off the launch. Zod and his men break in. Because, they're evil people. They've got to do this sort of shit. They break in, try to fight. Now, Jor-El, who is head of the science ministry, he is a scientist. proceed to beat the ever-living shit out of people who were genetically engineered and spent their entire life trained to be soldiers. Which I guess proves what Jor-El said about the whole cloning thing being stupid and failing. The only reason Jor-El died is because while he's too busy, as the rocket containing his son flies off, he's busy looking at an ore, and Zod gets out a little shiv and kills him. Boo-hoo-hoo. Fast forward a bit, Zod's coup has been stopped, and him and his remaining surviving followers are banished to the Phantom Zone. In a very dramatic scene that involves some sort of weird space satellite jellyfish. Shortly after they were banished to the Phantom Zone, though, Krypton started to rip itself apart. The whole unstable core, yeah. Although I will give it this. This is the first time I've ever actually seen... Now, I'm not a big Superman buff on information like that. This is the first time I've ever seen them actually explain why Krypton blew up. I mean, yeah, it's always been, either the sun goes supernova or the core's unbalanced, but this is the first time I've actually gone into detail and gone, this is why the core's unbalanced and going to explode. Fast forward a couple of years and we see Kal as a full-grown man, Clark Kent, on his journey of discovery. And as we go through this, we get several flashbacks to previous points in his life showing how he grew up dealing with his powers and all that, and the repercussions of some of his actions involving his powers. These short little flashback scenes did a brilliant job of explaining why Clark is the way he is now. Pretty much this case of once he discovered that he had the weight of the world on his shoulders, that he could change the world. He needed time to think. He needed time to clear his head. Especially, again, spoilers, we see what happened to Jonathan Kent and how he died. After an argument while driving, an argument about Clark wanting to use his powers and Jonathan Kent not sure if the world is ready for Clark, a tornado strikes. Now, I know that in the early previews and all that, when you heard Jonathan Kent and he goes, "You should have let those kids on the bus die," a lot of people were up in arms. But that was a scene that was taken slightly out of context because we only got that part of the speech. We didn't get the rest of it. He believes that Clark should step forward with his powers only when he's ready. As a result, when the tornado strikes, he runs back to save... Jonathan Kent not only runs back into the storm to save a little girl, he runs back into their car to save their dog. Unfortunately, as the tornado starts flipping cars, one of them smashes John's car, busting up his ankle pretty badly. He manages to get the dog out, starts limping away. Clark looks at him, looks like he's about to run out and save him, and John just goes, "No." He's willing to let himself die so his son's secret is safe. Which... shit. So you can sort of understand why it is that Clark went on this big journey to try and discover himself, eventually leading him to the Kryptonian ship. Now, as he goes into the Kryptonian ship, he starts to learn about himself, his past and all that, and comes across a hologram of his old man, Jor-El. And again, Jor-El is done brilliantly. Lois Lane, after being saved by Clark Kent, Superman, the mysterious alien, she wants to know more about him. Now, this is one bit that I've heard a lot of the fandom complain about because Lois Lane is able to discover that Clark Kent is Superman. Let's be fair, at this point he isn't Superman yet. Second, she, as we've seen in many of the comics, cartoons, TV series, whatever, Lois Lane will pretty much chase down every single fucking lead to get the story. She will not leave a stone unturned. She will badger away, go at it, whatever, to try and find the truth. Two, in this modern day and age, it's not that hard for, if you have a good use of technology, to follow the trail. So combine these two facts, and yeah, Lois was going to figure out who the hell he was. Yeah, I know. Some people are going to go, "Oh, it's not right, it's not how it goes in the comics." But I'll get to the whole thing if this isn't how things should be in the comics later on. So after they've had this meeting and all that, we get the reappearance of General Zod and his army. And they appear of Earth, send the usual alien message of, we want this person, if you don't give us to him with a set time period, we will kill you. Yada yada yada. So Zod comes down. So Clark, now donning the Superman costume, the S is a symbol of hope, which I did laugh at that. He allows himself to be brought before Zod. Zod also wants Lois Lane. Well, actually, can anyone actually explain to me why they wanted Lois Lane? Maybe it was in a deleted scene or something. I don't know. I'll have to wait till DVD. Anywho, give me a second. I did not realize how much this talking would make me thirsty. So they go up to the spaceship where Clark is starting to get sick because of the atmosphere is based off Krypton. People again are going, but wait, why is he getting sick because of the Kryptonian atmosphere? The ship contains the atmosphere of Krypton before it was destroyed, which means Krypton did have a lot of particulate matter in its atmosphere and all that. Its atmosphere was kind of fucked. So there were small I'm willing to say that the reason why Clark drops down, starts puking blood and all that, is that the atmosphere on Zod's ship contained traces of kryptonite. What sort of kryptonite? Who knows? There's a bajillion sorts of kryptonite. There's green, red, gold, rainbow, I think was one of them. And of course, from one that many a fan either laughs at, loves, or outright loathes, pink. Yeah, I have no idea. So as Clark gets sick on the ship, it's revealed that by being in the Kryptonian atmosphere, he is as weak as a human, because he's no longer getting the advantage of the nice, healthy yellow sun. Which they did kind of explain all that stuff rather well. But back to it. While he's passed out, Zod and him seem to have this weird mind meld thing, where Zod explains the whole deal. He explains how after Krypton was destroyed, the satellite that banished them to the Phantom Zone got blown up, so they fell out of the Phantom Zone. And for a while they thought they're trapped around the dead remains of their planet. There's no food on the ship, so they're probably going to starve. What are they going to do? It turns out that among many of Zod's followers were a couple of scientists, possibly. And they jury-rigged the device that would allow them to go into the Phantom Zone into a sort of jump vessel, hyperdrive thing. So they started bouncing around the universe, going to each of the Kryptonian colonies to hope that somewhere, somehow, Kryptonians had survived. But apparently after Krypton went, nope, fuck colonies, they all died. I'm not sure whether it was a lack of supplies from Krypton. I'm not sure if it was infighting. It never really explains how these colonies die off, beyond the fact that being cut off from Krypton resulted in death. Go figure. Further proof that the original Kryptonians were dicks. Probably another reason why Jor-El didn't want them to live. Zod continues his flashback montage mind meld thing, explaining that among their many trips, they found one of the many devices that allowed Kryptonians to colonize other worlds. A world engine. A terraforming device, if you will. And he explains his plans. He will get the Codex from Kal-El, use it to rebuild the Kryptonian race, and then use the world engine to turn Earth into New Krypton. Unfortunately, to do this, you'd have to kill everyone on the current planet. Well, Zod doesn't care. Zod is for Krypton. His only purpose is to serve Krypton, no matter what the cost. He's a bit of a zealot. So, Lois Lane was given the little doohickey majig that allows Jor-El to interface with the recording of Jor-El to interface with computers. she uses that to escape the ship. Unfortunately, before she escaped, her escape pod took a punch and started plummeting through Earth's atmosphere out of control. Among the many other things Jor-El does is he starts tweaking the atmosphere of the ship to make it more similar to Earth, allowing Clark to regain some of his strength. Clark breaks free, busts out of the ship, saves Lois. Hurrah! Zod, thanks to his freaky scientist dude, discovers that Clark's DNA has got the codex of Krypton, and goes, "Do we need him alive?" Evil scientist dude, "No, we don't. Then we will build new Krypton upon his bones." Zod's kind of a dick. Zealot dick. So, to defeat Kyle, he sends Theora, which... yeah, despite being very terrifying, she's an extremely attractive actress, very nice voice, and somehow managed to look very sexy and appealing, even though she's wearing full body armor and you can't see anything of her figure. Actually, the closest you get to see of her figure is in the few scenes when they're running around in their Kryptonian undersuits. And even then, you don't really get that much. Because either they got this weird necklace thing in the way, or... So, she, along with this big, hulking, unnamed brute, which I'm going to call him Nod, because he really does remind me of what I've seen from the comics and the second Superman original film of Nog, this big, silent, hulking brute. So Theora and Nod start beating the shit out of Superman and the US military. Now, this is a PG film, I believe. When Nod hit a warthog, you watch him land on the nose cone, rip the warthog apart, and then you see what... blink and you miss, but if you don't blink and miss, you'll see bits of the pilot fly out of the cockpit. Which pretty much sums up that Nod probably ripped him out of the harness, tearing him to shreds. As the fight continues, you flick between Superman trying to beat Theora and Nod, and the US military doing a very bad job fighting Kryptonians. Even though the Kryptonians are wearing their armor, they can't really... they don't get the full effects of the yellow sun. They get some super strength, super leaping, invulnerability, although I'm putting the invulnerability down to the armor, which, even though this armor is about 30 years or so out of date, can still take a licking. Superman discovers how to beat some of Zod's minions, and Zod himself, by breaking their helmets, allowing them to be fully exposed to the yellow sun, and not being fully filtered, which means they can hear everything. They have all the side effects of the fancy vision. After he manages to beat them, there's kind of a brief little thing where Clark grabs a little space shuttle, explains how Zod's technology works, how his technology works, Lois adds some bits that Jor-El told her, and the plan is simple. They're going to try and kickstart the Phantom Drive on Clark's pod. The theory is that when they kickstart it and slam it into Zod's ship, he'll rip open a hole to the Phantom Zone, shoving them in. As far as plans go, it's kind of like, well, it's better than nothing. Meanwhile, Zod, during all this, comes back down to Earth and rips off his helmet before hopping into the ship that Clark found at the beginning of the film, the other Kryptonian ship. I know I'm doing a shitty thing of explaining this. This is because I don't have a script and I'm doing as I go. Now, Zod very quickly adjusts to the super hearing, the X-ray vision, all that, which led to another complaint from fans, which... this one I'm going to be more bitchy towards the fans complaining, because Zod explains why he managed to adapt so fast later on in the film. Zod points out that he is a soldier. He has been trained his entire life to do this sort of crap. To effectively, when approached with a challenge, he will learn and overcome. So, pretty much the reason why he can adapt so quickly is because he is trained to do it. Clark took 30-odd years to finally fully get the hang of it all. Zod, couple of minutes, because he is a soldier. He is a fanatic, which means that, the fanaticism also helps an iron-hard willpower. Now, the reason he steals the second Kryptonian ship, the scouting ship, is because it contains a Genesis chamber. Combine the Genesis chamber with the Codex, and you will have Kryptonians. Sure, they'll all be babies, but give it a couple of years. Zod also launches the World Engine. Excuse me. How does the World Engine work? It syncs up with Zod's ship, which probably has a jury-rigged miniature version of the World Engine. What they do is, they sit on either side of the planet, exactly opposite, and proceed to send a gravitational pulse back and forward. This gravitational pulse is effectively increasing the density of Earth's core, I'm guessing. How does it work? But brainy guy Hamilton figures out within a couple of minutes. Also, they're spewing out all this pollution, which is containing particulate matter and all that, to make the atmosphere of Earth similar to Krypton. Now, the thing is, with these gravitational pulses is pretty much Krypton had a much heavier gravity than Earth, which that's sort of how they explain away the flight and stuff. So, heavy gravity, humans are kind of going squish, and you see a ton of humans go squish. So Superman's plan along with the US military is simple. He'll attack the World Engine, while they take his jury-rigged pod that he came in as a baby, and drop it on Zod's spaceship. The thing is, for them to get close enough to pull this off, they have to destroy the World Engine's effect of increasing gravity, as we see what happens when you fire missiles at something that's fucking with gravity. The missiles go everywhere, some of them spin off, hit civilians, blow up buildings. Superman, after a nice battle with the World Engine on his end, which nearly killed him, well, I think it nearly killed him, he manages to break it. And hurrah! On the other end of the world, they go to drop in their part of the plan. Theora jumps out via an escape pod and starts breaking the ship and killing all the humans on the airplane to dump this. Hamilton, being the super genius he is, figures out how to turn on the device, and they eventually bomb the ship. Now, here's the thing. This also caused another complaint from fans, yada yada yada. Why is it that when they activate the Phantom Drive and it smashed into Zod's ship, it effectively tore everything apart? Explanation: simple. The Phantom Drive is a very precise tool. It is designed to do a very precise job. The way they used it was the effect of using a sledgehammer to tap in a nail. It got the job done, but it kind of broke a ton of stuff in the process. So Zod's ship, Zod's remaining troops, the airplane carrying Clark's shuttle, all gets torn apart into the Phantom Zone. And judging by the fact that I think it was Clark's ship that caused the hole to be ripped into the Phantom Zone, not Zod's ship, that means that they were going through all that stuff being torn through this itty-bitty little hole. The scout ship smashing the Genesis chamber. Superman emerges victorious, has a kiss with Lois. The Daily Planet staff look on us like Perry White, played by Morpheus, because I can't remember the actor's name now. He's like, Jamie Olsen. I did not know she was meant to be the Jimmy Olsen of this. I didn't even realize it until later on in the film they mentioned her name is Jamie Olsen. I'm like, oh, okay. She watched and I was like, ah. Then, from the remains of the scout ship, out steps Zod. The final battle of the film. Zod has lost it. In a rather nice speech as he explains, he is a soldier. His entire life, as I mentioned earlier, is dedicated to Krypton, is dedicated to protection and the preservation of his people. Thanks to Clark, he has nothing. To badly quote him, "You've destroyed the very soul of me." So cue the second battle of Metropolis. Yeah, Zod and Clark are just tearing into each other, as you'd expect two superhumans to do. This has caused some complaints like, "Oh, Superman's never this destructive and all that." But the thing is, he can't afford to hold back because Zod is a trained soldier, and he sure as fuck isn't holding back. The battle escalates with Zod using each of his new abilities to his advantage, until eventually they reach a semi-standstill on a half-constructed building. And Zod gives his explanation of how it is he's able to adapt so quickly. And then he kneels down and mimics the exact pose Superman did before he flew for the first time, as Zod's armor, battered, beaten, tears apart from his body, and he rises up. And I'll admit, it was pretty terrifying. Well, not terrifying, pretty fucking intimidating, as Zod hovers above Superman in his unitard and just looks like he's about ready to just destroy everything, burn it all down. So begins stage 2 of the fight, and I'll admit this did kind of drag a little bit at times, as they pretty much just tear into each other, flying through buildings, smashing each other, tearing things apart, before smashing into a subway station. Clark puts Zod into a headlock, and Zod points out, he's like, I'm gonna kill them all. I'm going to make every single one of them suffer, and you will watch. As Zod fires up his laser eyes and starts slowly shooting them towards a cornered family. Clark has left no choice. He has got no choice. To save the family, he breaks Zod's neck. Another fandom complaint is like, why did Superman kill Zod? Well, I haven't read that many of the comics, but as far as I can tell, Zod is the only villain that has produced such a threat that Clark had to kill him. Now, let's think about some of the other villains that Superman has gone against. He's fought Doomsday, a genetic monster designed for the sole purpose of killing Superman. Superman didn't kill him, even though Doomsday did more damage. Darkseid is, I'd probably put him on par, maybe even more powerful than Zod. Superman never killed him. Lex Luthor, who, with his mind and ingenuity, has created things that I wouldn't say so much evil as he has pretty much made his goal to destroy Superman. But he never pushed him to the limit where Superman was left with no choice. All these villains, despite their power, never put Superman into a position where it was kill or be killed. The movie ends with Clark telling the US military to stop sending Predator drones to figure out where the hell he lives, by pretty much destroying a Predator drone and dumping it in front of one of the generals. General's a little bit pissed, but Superman's just going, look, I'm not a threat. Hell, I was raised in Kansas. I'm as American as you can get. The general goes, how can we trust you? Simple. Faith. And then we find out Clark running off to go join the Daily Planet. Clark's job decision to join the Daily Planet. And movie ends with him joining the Daily Planet, and pretty nice movie. I know I probably missed stuff because, again, unscripted. But if I spent time to write the script and all that, I'd be constantly referring to it, and yeah, probably take too long. Damn, I'm an atrocious speller. Absolutely horrible. Now, it was a good film, a nice film, and probably the only DC film I've seen in a long, long, long time that I actually enjoyed. So here comes the question of sequels. Will there be a sequel? Quite probably yes. Now here's something I've had discussions with a few friends online that they've got a problem. Escalation. Let's face it, superhero films, the next film has to be bigger and better and bigger and better. So the threat has to be bigger and better. How do you top Zod? How do you top a guy who forced Superman to kill him? My thoughts is there's actually quite a few villains you could do, but for me, the most logical next step as a villain, Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor, a businessman turning politician, who probably is going to be trying to rally the fearmongers. He's going to be probably whipping the fearmongers that look at all the damage that happened by these Kryptonians. What happens if Superman decides to become the next Zod? He will probably be whipping the hordes into a frenzy. And you'd be able to approach escalation from a different angle. The first film was Superman accepting himself and stepping out to help the people. The second film, you could do as him trying to be accepted by the people. Trying to fight this wave of fear and paranoia. Second film would also be a good way to introduce kryptonite. This mineral that has strange effects upon this Kryptonian. But, fan speculation, if there is going to be Superman 2, we're probably not going to... Well, a Man of Steel 2, we probably won't see anything from it until, I don't know, 2016? Maybe? Anyhow, my name is Doc Seraph. This is my rambling rant about Man of Steel. Go see it. I probably spoiled it for you, but go see it because I did not do a decent job of explaining it. I didn't do a really good job explaining. I just hit the points that made it of interest. And yeah, if these things turn out to be enough popular, I'll probably grab on video games, other movies and stuff, and do half an hour rant about them. Until next time, see ya.